Let's talk about one of the most incredible periods in a person's life, middle childhood. That time between ages 6 and 12. Kids aren't just getting bigger. They're literally building their own social worlds from the ground up. They're figuring out who they are, where they fit, what they believe. It is a fascinating and seriously important journey. So, that leads us to the big question for this explainer. How does a kid actually build that social world? We're going to tackle this from the inside out. We'll start at the very core, the child's own sense of self, and then we'll ripple outwards to family, friends, and everything else. So let's dive in, starting with the foundation. All right, first up, our journey begins inside the child's mind, with the first world they have to build, their own identity. This is that stage where they're constantly asking themselves, what am I good at? And maybe for the first time, how do I compare to everyone else? There's this famous idea from the psychoanalyst Erik Erikson, who called this stage industry versus inferiority. And he called it industry for a reason. It's a super busy, industrious time for kids. They're driven to learn skills, to get good at stuff, and to achieve a sense of competence. And crucially, they're constantly looking over at their friends and classmates to see how they measure up. And really, it all boils down to these two paths a child can go down. If they succeed, in school, in sports, just in making friends, they get that amazing feeling of industry. It's a sense of pride and accomplishment that builds real, lasting confidence. But if they consistently feel like they just can't keep up with their peers, that nagging feeling of inferiority can start to creep in, and that leads to doubt. Now, this is tied to another huge concept called self-efficacy. And this is so important. It isn't about how good a kid actually is at something. It's about how good they believe they are. It's that little voice inside their head that says, yeah, I got this. And you can see just how powerful this is. Think about it. A student who believes they can solve a tough math problem is way more likely to actually try, right? Because they believe their effort will pay off. But a kid who already believes they're bad at math, they might not even start, no matter how capable they actually are. That belief can literally become a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, so once the child starts building that inner world, what's next? Well, we expand out to the first and most important circle of influence, the family. This is the bedrock, the foundation for everything else. When you break it down, families have about 5 key jobs to do during this time. Of course, you've got the basics, providing food, clothes, a safe place to live. But look at the rest. A family also has to encourage learning, build up their kids' self-esteem, help them make friends, and, this is a big one, provide a home that feels stable and harmonious. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. A healthy family isn't about just one thing. It's about finding that balance where all of a child's needs are being met, from their physical well-being to feeling emotionally secure. It's that stable home base they need before they can go out and explore the rest of the world. And believe me, they do explore. As kids spend more and more time at school and in after-school activities, they enter that next big circle, the complex, super exciting, and sometimes scary world of their peers. This is a huge shift. During middle childhood, friends become one of the most important sources of self-esteem. Suddenly, it's your peers who decide what's cool, who's smart, or who's fun to be around. Being accepted by the group feels like winning the lottery, but being rejected, well, it can be incredibly painful. It's this slow pivot from a world that revolves around family to one that's all about friends. What's really interesting is that the very definition of friend changes as kids get older. At first, a friend is just someone you do fun stuff with. Simple. Then it evolves. A friend becomes someone who's kind and follows the rules, someone who shares. And finally, it gets much deeper. Friendship becomes about loyalty, trust, and being able to share secrets. The focus shifts from what a friend does for you to who a friend is. So, how do sociologists figure out the social ladder in a classroom? They use something called a sociometric assessment. It sounds complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. They just go into a group of kids and ask them 2 things. Who do you like to play with, and who do you not like to play with? The answers create this surprisingly detailed map of the social landscape. And that map shows a few distinct groups. You've got your popular kids, the ones most people like. Then you have rejected kids who are actively disliked. This group often splits into 2 types, kids who are aggressive and kids who are very shy and withdrawn. Controversial kids are a mixed bag. Some kids really like them and some really don't. And then you have the neglected kids who just kind of fly under the radar and don't get mentioned much at all. Okay, so you're trying to navigate your family. You're navigating this crazy peer world. How do you figure out the difference between right and wrong in all of this? You have to start building your own moral compass. To understand how this works, a psychologist named Lawrence Kohlberg came up with these brilliant little stories called moral dilemmas. The most famous one is about a guy named Heinz. Picture this. Heinz's wife is dying. There's only one drug that can save her, and the local druggist who invented it is charging a fortune for it, 10 times what it costs him to make. Heinz can't raise enough money. So Heinz begs the druggist, but the guy won't budge. Finally, in desperation, Heinz breaks into the store and steals the drug. So Kohlberg would ask kids, should he have done that? But here's the twist. Kohlberg didn't actually care if the answer was yes or no. He wanted to know why. The reasoning was everything. And what he found was a clear progression. Younger kids are often at what he called the pre-conventional level. It's all about self-interest. Their reasoning is based on, am I going to get in trouble, or what's in it for me? But as they get older, a lot of them move into the conventional level. Here, the focus shifts to social rules and norms. It's about being a good person in the eyes of others, or upholding the law just because it's the law. It's a huge shift, right, from what about me to what are the rules of the group? Now, we can't paint a full picture of this social world without talking about some of the tougher parts. And one of the biggest challenges kids face is, of course, bullying. So what is bullying, officially? Well, it really has 3 key ingredients. 1, it's aggressive behavior that the target does not want. 2, there's a power imbalance. One person has more social or physical power than the other. And 3, it happens repeatedly, or has the potential to. It's not just a one-time fight, it's a pattern. And it's not just one thing. There's verbal bullying, like teasing and threats. There's physical bullying, which is pretty obvious. But then there's social bullying, the really painful stuff, like spreading rumors or purposefully leaving someone out. And of course, today we have cyberbullying, which uses technology and can feel like there's no escape. So when you step back and look at the whole picture, you can see just how much is going on inside a child's world. They're forging an identity, figuring out their role in the family, building these incredibly complex friendships, developing a moral code, and learning how to face down some pretty tough social challenges. It's a massive, massive undertaking. Understanding this intricate world they're building is absolutely the first step, and it leaves us with the most important question of all. Knowing what we know about this delicate, crucial process, how can we, as the parents, teachers, and adults in their lives, best support them while they build it? That's really something to think about.